Hey everyone, this is Neil once again from the Overclocker magazine, and today I'm here to talk to you briefly about the ROG STRIX Z790 E Gaming Wi-Fi II. First things first, what is the price of this motherboard? Well, it's very difficult to actually find this one retail in South Africa right now. Progenics had it at some point between 13 and 14,000 Rand, but generally you're going to find this board retailing for about 14 to 15,000 Rand at other retailers. Nonetheless, that makes it a little bit cheaper than the Hero motherboard, but also a little bit more than the STRIX F motherboard. So therefore, in features, you should expect it to sit somewhere in between there. Either way, let's talk about the features that I found endearing or rather positive on this motherboard. Number one, the aesthetics. I cannot go on enough about just how good looking ROG motherboards of late are, especially the more high-end ones. Yes, the STRIX A is, I don't know if we want to call that as part of the ROG family, but definitely from the STRIX Fs and particularly the STRIX E that we have here, they look the part. You actually do feel that you're buying into a premium brand, and that's the one thing about ROG that you do appreciate. It's just the attention to detail, the little writing that they have on the heat sinks. The back of the motherboard as well also has some motifs. It's had a lot of writing on it. I think this one has, for those who dare, written on the back of the motherboard. They don't have to put that there, but they did, and I do appreciate that, especially if I'm paying like 14 grand for a motherboard. That said, another thing that I appreciate that comes from the dark motherboard, or rather the Hero motherboard, which is the more high-end one, is just a brilliant rear I/O panel. So when I say brilliant, what am I talking about? Yes, you do get DisplayPort, HDMI, clear CMOS, BIOS flashback, and all of that good stuff, but you get 11 10 gigabits per second ports, one of which is type C and is 30 watts capable, so I think that's PD 3.0 compatible, but the rest of them are 10 gigabits per second type A ports. Do any of us need so many ports? No, we don't, but it's nice that you can plug your devices into any one of these ports and make sure that you get maximum speed, or at least for the most part. In addition to that, however, you also get a 20 gigabits per second port type C as well on the rear I/O. So in terms of connectivity, I think you're sorted. And if you do want Thunderbolt, there actually is a header on the south end of the motherboard that allows you to plug in an additional card for Thunderbolt or USB V4 if you want. Talking further about USB as well, the USB 3 header, very close to the type C header in the same location, meaning for cable management and so forth, it just makes it easier, because more times than not, on your case, these cables come from the same area, so it makes sense that on the motherboard they should be in the same area. So it's that little bit of attention to detail that I appreciate about ROG boards, and particularly this one, of course. And in addition, about USB, you also get 3 USB 2.0 headers, meaning that you can have up to 6 USB ports. However, talking about connectivity as well, where PCI Express is concerned, you're going to get 5 M.2 sockets. One is Gen 5 and the rest are Gen 4x4, of course. In addition to these great things that I like about this motherboard, yes, it is an 8-layer PCB board, so technically it should allow you to get better DRAM OC. This motherboard does say that it's compatible with DDR5 8000. There's no memory that's on the QVL that I have that is 8000, and in fact the Corsair memory that I tried on this motherboard actually didn't make it to 8000. It didn't even make it to 76000. However, the motherboard does not support this memory the last time I checked, so you cannot blame the board for that, at least. However, I am disappointed that I couldn't even attempt 7600. Nonetheless, there are people who are running 8000 on this motherboard, so obviously I'll just chalk it up to my particular sample, or the memory that I have, or the combination of the two. Regardless, there are some other things about this motherboard that I found, this is rather unfortunate, and that's the fact that I think, in as much as the UEFI is functional on the ROG boards, it is a bit long in the tooth. Even if you could just get some HD treatment, I think that would do a lot for it. Functionally, it's near perfect. However, just visually, it could stand to get some improvement. Outside of that, there's one more thing that I found peculiar. So there's a flex key option in the BIOS, but the flex key doesn't physically exist on the motherboard. So I don't know why that is there, but let's just chalk it up to repeating the BIOS interface, at least across multiple motherboards. So what is the greatest takeaway for me from this motherboard? Well, I think it strikes a fair balance between the Hero board and the STRIX F, as I said in the beginning. I mean, you get the connectivity that's fairly the same as what you get on a Hero board sans Thunderbolt 4. And even if you want Thunderbolt 4, as I said, there's a riser, or rather a header for that you can use. So there's really no need to say that, oh, I'm missing Thunderbolt 4 or USB 4. You can actually do something about that without spending the amount of money that you would on a Hero board. The thing that I don't appreciate so much is the fact that I couldn't get my memory to DDR5 8000 or even 7600, which is rather disappointing given that the Apex and the Apex Encore were capable of taking this memory to 8200 and higher. Overall, is this board worth 14,000 or 13,000 depending on how much you can get it for? Well, that's up for you to decide. I mean, we are looking at Intel's new generation or next gen platform coming in maybe 4 months or something like that. However, there are people who prefer to buy at the end of a generation or a platform because a lot of the bugs have been ironed out, so they can make sure that they get a more smoother experience than the people who started at the beginning of a generation. If you're one of those people, I think this motherboard is as valid as any other motherboard you would consider at this time. And again, if you can get it at a good price, it does strike a decent balance between a STRIX F and a Hero motherboard. So make of that what you will, you guys. Anyway, that's it for me about the ROG STRIX Z790E Gaming Wi-Fi 2. If this motherboard strikes something in you that you find appealing, let me know what it is in the comments below. Until then, remember to share, like, subscribe, and take care of yourself mostly, and peace.